Hey everyone, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world today. Another Afternoon Tea with Helen. And my name is Helen Buxton, as you know, and I have my beautiful English cup with my cup of tea. Today I'm having chamomile because it's Friday and I want to chill down. So I'm having some chamomile to de-stress and relax. So today, before I introduce my guest, remember to subscribe, remember to like, and remember to comment. So today I have a very interesting person that I'm sure you're going to love today. So her name is Barbara Buxton, and I'm going to let her tell you all about herself. So Barbara, how are you today? What are you doing? And do you have a cup of tea?
I do. First and foremost, tea.
Oh, beautiful cup. I love the cup. Excellent.
And it's a chai tea, which is robust and delicious. Has a lot of cinnamon and wonderful flavors in it.
Mm-hmm.
So
tell me about
this afternoon. It's a nice hot Friday afternoon, just wrapping up the week. I'm an estate planning and elder law attorney, and one of the things that we're doing so frequently these days is helping people put their estate in place. You know, given the current affairs.
Yeah, exactly, because this is being recorded in 2020 with the COVID-19 and everything that goes with it. And we live in Florida, and we're just going through this time now where Florida is one of the states that the COVID-19 is going up. But how did you get into estate planning? What made you, out of all the law as an attorney, all the other niches you could have got into, what made you choose this niche?
Well, this is how it all began. When I went to law school, I really went to become a judge, not even a lawyer. And then I saw that that road was a little too ambitious at this point. And I began, it was 1987, when the economy wasn't so great. I had a girlfriend who was in the Nueces County District Attorney's office, and she helped me get a job as a prosecutor. So my first 3 years were spent as a prosecutor for the Tri-County area. And the odd thing about that was the one thing I knew I would never do was practice criminal law. And there I was, practicing for 3 years in this industry. I found it interesting. And when I left the DA's office, my brother said that the criminals cried. And
oh my goodness. I can't imagine you as a prosecutor.
Well, I was like a social work prosecutor. So as long as I wasn't prosecuting murder cases, if it was theft or drug-related crimes, crimes that didn't involve hurting another person, the goal that I had, and the judge in the court I often had hearings in front of, he and I had the same philosophy that it's better to try and encourage the defendants to, once they leave the criminal justice system, to make a better life for themselves. So and most cases are not litigated. They're actually plea bargained out.
Right.
And so our plea bargains typically included a year or two of education that they would receive. And if they did that, I mean, they didn't get it as a part of their sentence, but if they finished their high school, obtained a high school diploma, or got a 2-year associate's degree, or went to trade school, just did anything for a year or two that would improve themselves educationally, then any of the fees that they incurred through the criminal justice system would be waived. So they had a financial incentive to improve themselves. And that's why my mother said that when I left, they cried.
Got it. So how did you transition from criminal prosecutor to eldercare, estate planning, all that sort of thing?
Well, what happened was it was in 1992 that we had a death in the family. And it's personal, but this is how it happened. We had a death in the family, and as a result of the death, there was litigation a month after the death, and the litigation lasted for 10 years.
Wow.
And during that time, probably about a month or two after the death, I moved from Corpus Christi, Texas to Coral Springs, Florida, and started going to school to obtain an LLM degree. That's a master's in legal letters at University of Miami in estate planning. And the reason it was for estate planning is because the litigation that ensued was caused because the tax clause in the will did not match the tax clause in the trust. And it just litigation that lasted such a long time, and also ended up in creating new trust law for the state of Florida, which was, first it was case law based on the case that was successful to change how you looked at a trust. Was a trust just a will and a testamentary document, or was it a contract? And before this case, it was treated as a will, more or less. And you can't change a will. Only specific situations allow you to after someone passes away. But with a trust, if it's viewed as a contract, it can be changed, it can be reformed if you can prove there was not a meeting of the minds. So all that passed and inspired me to get an extra law degree in estate planning and just help people create documents that wouldn't cause their families problems after they left this earth. So work with these people.
So you said you moved from Texas. So are you originally from Texas, or where were you born?
I was born in Ohio, in the Midwest. Grew up in the Midwest, but in Michigan. And I went to Michigan State and University of Michigan, and ultimately obtained a degree in psychology. That's really my love. And it transfers well into law, and in particular into estate planning. And then, as you mentioned, I branched out into the elder law area. And that was just, it was almost an organic move, because a lot of the clients that are thinking about estate planning, often it's not your 18-year-old, although it should be, and often not a 30-year-old. Very often it's somebody in their 60s, maybe later, often later. It's usually, people think about estate planning when they have their first child, and they think about estate planning when they're entering their golden years. And what I found in my second case in providing an estate plan for a couple, that they were looking at huge long-term care costs because one of the two spouses had Parkinson's disease. So then the estate plan focus was, well, what will happen to the assets, and how would you support the community spouse should the sick spouse need a nursing home, and are there benefits available? So that's how I evolved into elder law.
The one thing is that you said, which was really relevant, is a lot of people that go to college, and a lot of college students take psychology because it's one of the things that they do. But most of them don't use it, or go into psychology, or go into counseling, or go into anything that relates to it. But you made the transition of saying you use the psychology in your law practice. So that is something for people to keep in mind as well, the young students and everything, to keep in mind that you can actually use whatever you're studying into your career, because a lot of people, whatever they major in, hardly ever get a career in it, you know. So it's like, you know, and I know a lot of them take psychology, so that's a good sort of way into using the psychology background, which is excellent. So you're a mother, a grandmother, a businesswoman, a wife, an employer. You've got all of these things that you have to do. You look after all of your clients. What does Barbara do for Barbara?
Well, currently I do a lot less than I used to. Part of the reason is because we're sheltering in place at home, and
Right.
it's wonderful to work at home. I love it. You get to see people using Zoom. I still meet people face to face, but I do it with protective gear on both sides. But when you work at home, the danger is you never stop working. So that's something that I am struggling to put in perspective, because with the office right here, it's very easy to get up early in the morning and start hitting the business emails and then do some work that is uninterrupted work, which is very nice to have that time when you're not getting phone calls, because it's not 9 to 5. So I work in the morning when normally when I worked in the office, I would go to the gym in the morning. So I have to force myself to take those walks. So I'm going to speak historically. What I do for my own enjoyment is take walks on the beach. That's my very, very favorite thing. I like to go early in the morning or later in the evening when the sun begins to go down. And walking is really one of my favorite things that I do for myself. The second thing, believe it or not, is connecting with friends. You know, that's such a treat for me. And if I'm feeling like I just don't want to pay attention to work for maybe 15 minutes or so, I FaceTime with the grandchild.
Exactly, yeah.
The children's world. And I find that refreshing.
Yeah. I do the same with mine. I speak to my grandchildren and they're in London. But the time-space continuum doesn't matter anymore, because we've got video conferencing, we've got all the apps and everything that we can video with whoever, wherever. It's just a time zone away. And it's good to get a different perspective, especially if they're in a different state or a different country as well, and just see how things are going along. So when you were at university and all that sort of thing, had you already made your mind up that being an attorney was what you wanted to do? Is it something you decided when you were, you know, a young child, or because it was in the family, or was it something that you, by the time you got to college, said, oh, I need to do something?
No, it didn't work like that for me, though certain times of my life, being an attorney popped up. When I was, and these are silly, silly things, like when I was in 5th grade, I had a role in a play where I was an attorney. So it made me think about, would I even ever like to be an attorney? And then when I was in college, one of my friends was going to go to an unaccredited law school. So it made me, which I advised him not to do, but it made me think, if he's doing that, I wonder if I would like doing that. And then I thought about when I graduated from college, I thought, maybe instead of being a psychologist, maybe I'd like to be a psychiatrist. So I started going back to school to pick up the prerequisites for medical school and to take beginning courses in social work. And then in the middle of all that, I married. And then I just put everything on hold. I had children, I started rearing the kids, and then it dawned on me, I don't have a career. It was always very, very important to me to have a career. So then I thought again, well, now I'm a mom. What's practical to do? I knew that medical school was a very long road.
Right.
And I just don't think I can do that and raise the kids, because I loved raising my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And interacting with them and playing with them. It was very, very important to me. And I received a lot of joy from that. And I didn't want to give that up. And I knew going to school in that way, I would be giving that up for a long, long time. And then I thought about getting a master's in psychology and going for a PhD. And this may be wrong, but my thought was, but then I'm just talking with somebody. I want to be able to help somebody who has a problem and just help them solve it in some real way. So as a prosecutor, you help the victim get hopefully restitution and resolution. And as an estate planning attorney, somebody wants to engage in that kind of planning because they want to take care of their family when they're not here. And so I could help them with that. I could put something in place rather than just talk about how we're going to help them. I could put something in place that will work for them after they're gone. So it was more tangible. I love the psychology, but at the same time, I like having a tangible product when I'm done.
Right. So your career took different paths, but you're still in the same sphere. So when you're not working, what's the favorite music you like?
I love musicals. So my go-to is listening to old musicals, new musicals, Rent, Evita, oh my goodness.
But I haven't seen Evita for ages.
Oh, that was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
In the past.
Did you see the one with Madonna or the one before that?
The one before that,
me too. Yeah.
The musical on TV with Madonna. And one of the things I used to do wait, do I mean Evita? Yes, was I would jog to it. And I could get through that entire musical and jog 7 miles.
and you know, that's the thing. When I was ironing in my younger days, and we used to iron things, we don't do it so much these days, I would iron to Strauss. You know, the Blue Danube, it was so easy. Yeah. It was so easy to iron to, you know, and that was the only way I could get through ironing because I hated it. And then when I earned enough money, I employed someone to do my ironing because it's one of the things I hated the most. But I could get through it with Strauss, you know. And one of my other favorite ones is, which is a newer one, is Mamma Mia. And I can do my housework. I can do anything to Mamma Mia. I know all the songs. I love it. You know, I've watched it 100 times. I just love that movie. Love it.
I do too. And Hamilton's another one. It's sad, but it's just a wonderful production. Just so many, and I have them available. You know, you can stream it with Pandora.
Yeah,
have CDs of so many, and so that's what I do. And on Saturday, usually on the weekend, is when I put together estate plans because I can work at them uninterruptedly and listen to beautiful music as I'm doing it. And it's fun. It doesn't feel like work. It's very relaxing.
I also work to Phantom of the Opera. I love that one. Love it. You know, I don't know if do you like opera and ballet or the arts? You like that also?
All of it. It's so sad though. I have gone to so many operas. I mean, so many. We're season ticket holders. I've been going for years and years and years.
This year we haven't been able to do any of it.
I know.
We haven't been able to go to anything. I know they stream it and stuff like that, but it's not the same as being there in person and feeling the energy and all that sort of thing.
Right. I love it too.
Yeah.
I just don't, as frequently as we go to opera, I still don't remember all the operas. It's just so odd how the names just don't stick. And I've probably seen at least 10 of them twice.
Oh, easy.
Easy,
Madame
yes.
Butterfly, Madame
Yes.
Butterfly and Phantom of the Opera, the two that we've seen so many times. You know, they're my
Yes.
favorite. I love them.
And Miss Saigon, which is, you know,
Also,
Madame
I remember
Butterfly.
seeing Madame Butterfly. The second time I saw Madame Butterfly, I took my daughter when she was about 16 to see it. And we went to Carnegie Hall in London and saw Madame Butterfly. But it was in English. And it was
Wow.
it was great to introduce my daughter to opera when it was in English. And it's a great story that everybody knows and everybody relates to it. So it was easier. And then Michael McLaren, I don't know if you know Michael McLaren, he's a musician, did the theme tune of Madame Butterfly as a remix. And I have that. I love it. It's really good, you know. So what gets Barbara up in the morning?
I love living. I mean, even in this odd time, I get up. I jump out of bed because I'm happy to start my day, and I'll start out with a cup of coffee because that energizes me. And then I read in the morning. I read a fairly liberal magazine called The Week, which is a summary of what happened last week with interesting articles about the arts, about technology, about business, about you know, the current events of last week, which we've heard all week and in the paper. But
Yeah.
fun to read it. And then I do a lot of my technical reading in the morning because it's quiet. And then on some mornings I walk with friends in the neighborhood, and then I get to the desk and I start my work, and I don't really stop that with the exception of minor breaks until about 5 or 6 in the evening.
So if you were, and I know you've got children and grandchildren, so you've been around people that you've given advice to, what is one nugget of piece of advice that you would pass on to someone in the younger generation that you wish you'd known when you were at that age?
Well, I would say do what you love. And if you think that you can't do it, try it anyways. And if you fail, all that means is that you need to do it again. And the second or third time, you'll nail it. And don't let your thoughts of thinking you can't do something get in the way of something that you really, really want to do. Because I think we have a tendency to stop ourselves. We don't, you know, I think for one reason is because we don't want to appear foolish, or we want to give the impression that we have it all together and that we're good at everything that we try. And the truth is, nobody's good as a beginner. If they are, they're a genius, or they're a child prodigy, which is so rare. You know, if you want to be good at something, you just have to keep trying at it, keep working at it, keep working at it, keep working at it until you nail it. And maybe it won't be quite what you thought it would be, but maybe you'll create your own spin on whatever it is you wanted to do. So that would be the advice.
I love it. I love
in
it.
Our head,
right? You know,
is discouraging us.
Exactly. And I asked this of all of my people that come on the show, and I think I'm going to put a compilation of everyone's pieces of advice because some of the advice that comes out is so so crucial for someone to hear at the right time. And that was a great piece of advice. And I want to thank you for being on the show. Barbara, it was, you know, informative, and, you know, how your journey came about and all that sort of thing. So I hope you loved what Barbara had to say. I hope you like Afternoon Tea with Helen and the people that I have on the show. And please subscribe to the channel, share, and comment. And if there's someone that you think would be really interesting for the show, then drop me a line and we'll see if we can get them on the show for you. So once again, thank you very much. Afternoon Tea with Helen, signing off again.